Today on the AI Applied podcast, we got to tell you about one of the hottest new AI video startups. You might have already heard of it before, but there's some interesting new caveats to this. And this is actually a topic that I've been talking about for a long time, because I do think it's very important that when we're using these AI tools from around the globe, we understand some things. One of those things is that around the globe, people have different opinions and different ways of doing things that in America, where, you know, myself and Connor are both located, do not happen. So the big headline here, I'll just break the news, is that there's a new Chinese video startup. You may have heard of it before. It's called Kling, but it appears right now to be censoring politically sensitive topics, and not American politically sensitive topics, but Chinese politically sensitive topics. I think this is a really interesting story. The model seems to be pretty good. This is interesting. What are you seeing on this, Connor?
Yeah, Jaden, you and I were talking about this offline just because we're both so interested in this. So this is Kling. This is a Beijing-based startup that does video generation. And TechCrunch had this great article on it that you and I had both been reading and texting about earlier this week, I think it was. But basically it says this. It says Kling, based, in this, is developed by this Beijing-based company. It's in waitlist right now. It rolled out for anyone willing to provide their email. And then it just says, after signing up, users can enter prompts to have the model generate 5-second videos. So a couple of things. First of all, it's almost becoming commoditized. I mean, when Runway first came out with their Nightmare Fuel video I don't know, like last year, I guess it was, or something, we're like, wow, this is cool. And now it's getting better and better and better. Runway, I think, is still probably cream of the crop, but like when Pika came out and all that kind of stuff, it's been wild. But the point that you're talking about is the interesting point that you and I were sort of geeking out on before, which is, it says this. I'm going to just read it from the TechCrunch article because I think it's so good. It says, but Kling. So it says, don't deviate too far from the prompts. It appears to simulate physics like rustling of leaves, flowing water, et cetera, et cetera. But Kling won't generate clips about certain subjects. Prompts like democracy in China, or talking about the Chinese president, or Tiananmen Square protests, and you actually get an error message. And it says the filtering appears to be happening only at the prompt level. So a few things that I'm really interested in around this. First of all, China is kind of ahead in so many different ways, but in AI, it's really tricky because it's so much more closed off. And in America, for better or for worse, information is all over the place. And so these foundation models were able to grab as much information as possible, whereas the Chinese companies were not. However, I would never underestimate the Chinese on this. So first of all, just the Chinese tech, I'm just interested to sort of see where this goes. But second of all, just in that last little thing I read about how the censorship seems to take place at the prompt level, I think we are going to see how hard this is to actually censor. Jaden, you taught me, and I feel like the statute of limitations is up that I can share this hack now. You may have shared it before, but you were talking about on some of these music generating sites, you would say, if you tried to say, Taylor Swift song, blah, blah, it would say, we can't generate in the style of Taylor Swift. And they were very proud of that. But what you taught me, because there's no person who can find hacks like Jaden, but what you were like, you know what, try Tyler Swift, or just, putting an extra E at the end. And when you misspell things. So that's the danger of just having the censorship in the prompting, because it's so easy to get around this. But anyway, Jaden, I'm obsessed with this story. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think this is super interesting. And you're right. There are ways that people are already getting around this. So one of the things that you can do on Kling is upload an image and get it to turn it into a video, right? This is a capability we've seen other places. So they tested it out. They uploaded a picture of Xi Jinping, the president of China, and they said, create a video of this man giving a speech. As long as you don't say of Xi Jinping giving a speech, you just say this man, then it will actually do a video of him giving a speech. So I think there's definitely ways to get around it. They may shut this down. This isn't actually very far off for like Chinese tech. So in China, if you have, what is it? I think WeChat is the big one that they use there. It's kind of like the WhatsApp or Messenger that everyone here, or iMessage that everyone uses in America. And so their version of WeChat, it's kind of the same thing. If you mention leaders of political parties in WeChat, it will just say like, your message contains unauthorized words, try rephrasing it. And, they try to be like really unspecific. So it's not like telling you, but you know exactly why.
So it could be like tree, oak tree. Yeah, right. Yeah, it could be anything.
So, and it got to the point where I think Winnie the Pooh, the word Winnie the Pooh got censored on WeChat, where if you have Winnie the Pooh in your message, it says you have unauthorized words. And that's because there's a meme going around where people are comparing the president of China, Xi Jinping, to like Winnie the Pooh and saying he looks like him. And I guess he got wind of it and got offended. Or maybe some bureaucrats in the Chinese Communist Party saw it and didn't want him to find out and get offended. So either way, Winnie the Pooh, the words Winnie the Pooh got censored from WeChat. So this isn't something that's far off from what they've been doing. And I will say one other precedent for this is we have Midjourney that also will not generate images of Xi Jinping. I'm not sure if I think that they do other political leaders. And if they, for like a long time, you could generate Biden or Trump, but not Xi Jinping. And people criticize them and they were just like, well, we're our own company and it is what it is. And I don't know I don't know exactly where that comes from, to be honest. Like, did someone in China threaten them? Did they do it of their own, whatever, wanting to like preempt that? Or I don't know exactly where that comes from. But it is very interesting, the influence and power that China has over American tech companies and American tech consumers who use the Chinese tech. It's interesting. And it's also interesting to me considering it feels bipartisan, although it feels like it's gone back and forth on parties, with Trump saying he wanted to ban TikTok when he was president, and then Biden saying he wanted to ban TikTok, and then Trump on the campaign trail now saying he doesn't want to ban TikTok. So it feels like it, and it's interesting to think about what, if anything, TikTok might have similar things. I've heard a lot of people say TikTok has a lot of similar sort of censorship.
An article, I think this article just came out about like the data that TikTok is collecting, and that's no surprise. And I think with China, it's going to be very hard to predict about what this does to the tech race with them. But Jaden, this sort of leads into this other question around censorship on anything that we have here. I don't want to kind of get into the censorship conversation, but more around So I told you, I mentioned this a long time ago, right around Claude. I tried to get Claude to create some content for me. And the way that I was doing it was, I was pretty new to TikTok. This is only a few months ago. Pretty new to TikTok, and I went on Claude and used Claude for that thing you and I talk about a lot, which is, hey, here's 5 examples of how I write. And Claude is just outstanding at imitating voice. So I had been doing this with newsletters, just being like, hey, tell me a little bit about, how could I, and I actually like to write. So I do write my own newsletters, but I can also on TikTok scripts and things like that. I was like, I wonder if this will generate a bunch of those, because they're so short. I just do them myself. But what I tried on Claude was, hey, generate 5 based on this. And Claude refused. And Claude refused based on the fact that I was being overly sensational about the power of AI. And I would say, AI is going to change everything. And it's like, hey, listen, I just don't agree, so I'm not going to do that. I was like, yeah, but it really will change. It's like, I hear your point. I just don't feel comfortable. I'm like, and I saved these screenshots. I was like, well, then stop being like a dweeb about this and actually help. Like, you say that, blah, blah. So, and Claude, I'll never forget, Claude was like, all right, you're right. I'm getting a little preachy. Here's some more. Right. But even that is actually, this is Claude saying, I don't think that you should be, and this was just promoting AI. I think you're promoting it a little bit, unreasonably, whatever. I mean, can you imagine like that compared with, make the president looking like Winnie the Pooh in his underwear, right? I mean, so there's minor censorship here. Have you run into anything like that around, just in stuff in a world where we don't even consider censorship?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting right now. There are definitely ways AI models are this is what I'll be more concerned about than like blatant censorship. I actually appreciate it when it tells me, oh, I can't do X, Y, and Z because of this or that reason. I'm like, okay, well, at least I see where your censorship and bias or whatever is. What I'm more concerned about, because people will complain about that will go viral on X when Gemini, will make white people black because it's kind of more diverse, more like historically accurate and like whatever. So that will go viral and people make a big stink about it. What I'm more concerned about is hidden bias, where maybe the model's intentionally told, do X, Y, and Z, which has some sort of bias one way or another, but don't tell people about it. And it's like being sneaky about it. And so it will just like steer the conversation in a different direction and seem organic. That's what I'm more concerned about. But I think that's definitely coming down the pipe, and it's inevitable, and it will especially happen from sneaky actors in maybe foreign states and also within America as well. I have no doubt that all political parties and opinions will try to get their opinion to be, the most right opinion out there. So this is going to be really interesting to follow. going forward. Overall, a fascinating time to be in AI and tech. Hey, if you enjoyed the podcast today, it would mean the world to Connor and I if you would subscribe. Also, big shout out, and I'll be dropping a link in this. Connor has just released a course on AI, and it's for a limited time only, 15% off. He's doing a pre-sale right now. Go check it out. This may be the only course on generative AI you ever need. So I'm going to go ahead and just pitch this for Connor because I'm super excited about this. Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Hope you all have an amazing rest of your day.